Hi there, interior design lovers. Welcome back to the Business of Beautiful Spaces, the podcast where we blend design inspiration with all behind the scenes tips and tricks you need to thrive in your business. I'm your host, Laura Thornton, and with over 27 years in this interior design game and running a 7-figure design company, trust me, I've seen it all. I want to be your interior design bestie. I want to help you build the business of your dreams, make more money, and yes, ditch the stress along the way. I've been doing this for a long time, and now I'm sharing my knowledge with all of you, my fellow designers and decorators. All I ask in return is that you like, review, and follow this podcast wherever you listen, so other designers can find us and learn more too. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into making 2025 your best business year yet. Welcome back. Today we're diving into a topic that fuels everything you do in your business and your life, your core values, your big, hairy, audacious goals, otherwise known as BHAGs, and how they guide you towards a meaningful and lasting legacy. So now we're in the new year. I think it's a really perfect time to reflect on what drives you, what your core values and BHAGs aren't and what they are. And what they aren't are just lofty ideals. They're practical tools that help us stay aligned and help us make decisions and clarity that inspires us, and if you have a team, on your business. And it's getting really clear on these items that really helps everything in your business, from your process to your profits, and everything starts to fall into place. So everybody, I want you to grab a notepad and a pen if you can. And if you can't, you can always do this later. But maybe even your favorite coffee or tea or even a water. Just need you to chill out for a few minutes, because if you're able to dig into knowing your why and your core values and setting these big, audacious goals, it can really help you transform your business and your life. So again, I know you're going to hear this a lot because I now belong to an entrepreneurial organization, and I get so inspired when I come out of these meetings and I hear such great information that I can't wait to share it with all of you. And I guess I'm going to go back a little bit and explain what it is. So for years, I've been seeking community, not just via designers, but business owners. And what I've realized is not just designers are lonely. Like, here I was thinking, for a long time I was in my home office working from home. I didn't have a team. It was just me. And it was a really lonely world of work because there was no one to discuss these things with. But my husband also owned his own business. He just sold it in the last year. But I never thought to sit down and talk to him about my business because we have very different businesses. And long story short, through another designer friend of mine in a different province in Canada, she was very good about telling me about this organization that she belonged to. And I started looking into it. And after about 2 years of the application sitting on my desk, I finally thought, I'm going to fill this out. When something just keeps coming up, and then I'd be in other conversations and someone would say that they were a member. And I was like, okay, I need to know more. So filled out an application form, and all of this to say it was a long process to get into this organization. You get interviewed by numerous members, and then you have to prove financials. It's an ordeal to get in. But even speaking to the people that were interviewing me, we instantly had this connection that was I couldn't wait to talk more about my business, and they would tell me about their business and it was just this connection. And so long story short, I agreed to join this organization. And as I mentioned, every time I go, and you have to do monthly meetings, and then you have to do certain things to stay part of this group. And if you don't, they literally will kick you out. Now it sounds like a cult. It's not. It's but they just want to make sure that everyone's pulling their weight, because you're basically in a meeting with certain individuals that you are building your group with, and it's the same people, and you do work every month, and then you show up with that work done, and you discuss things in your business, and you're not allowed to discuss other people's businesses, so I can't share any of that with you. But as I get inspired, and as I learn more, and as I'm reading books and absorbing all of this fantastic information, no one else in this group is an interior designer. Everybody else owns different businesses, and you're starting to pull from everybody's processes or experiences, and you're learning together and you're building together. And then they give you different insights from on your business and the things that you think. And it just starts to change the way you are thinking in general. And so I find this so helpful that every time I do leave one of these information days, or there's days where you can go and just listen to speakers, I can't wait to share it with all of you, because it's so inspiring and it's such great information. And not all of it is always applicable, but a lot of it is. And so I'll always let you know where I found information or where I didn't. And so this is one of those things where I had read numerous books, and the BHAGs, the Big Hairy Audacious Goals, had come up numerous times. And I was like, where do people hear this? Well, now I know it's from the Harvard Business School. Somebody wrote an article about these Big Hairy Audacious Goals, and now it's obviously made its way into numerous books. And you'll probably now, once, if you haven't heard of it, now you'll see it everywhere. It's like, once you're aware, you can't not be aware. Anyway, I'm going to stop yapping about that part, but just to give you context of where I found this information and where it's coming from. So I want to start talking about our core values, because as we're constantly working on our businesses and in our businesses, I think sometimes it's very easy to forget why we started this, or what was our guiding compass at the beginning. What was our core values that this business started with? So I think we have to start there. Let's start with the core values. These are the principles that define who you are, and define what your business stands for. They're not just words on a vision board or on your website. They are the foundation for everything. And from the way that you treat your clients and the way that you lead your team, core values, really, they guide you in how you interact with those clients and how you make decisions in your business. For example, when a project feels misaligned, and we've all had those projects where it's misaligned with our values, or we're not niching with a client, or whether it's the client who doesn't trust the process, or a design that doesn't feel authentic, it's time to step back and it's time to reassess. Why are core values important? Because they allow us to have those moments to step back. They give us that process to be like, something doesn't feel right, because they act as your filter. And when you're faced with tough decisions, or whether that is about choosing a client or hiring a team member or deciding where to focus your energy or your money, your core values help you make that decision clearer and easier. It'll give you clarity and confidence. And if we all take a moment to reflect, do you know what your core values started off? Because they can change, and that's okay. But do you know, did you ever have core values? What principles define your work, your relationships, and the way that you run your business? Do yourself a favor and write them down. And now these are going to be your guideposts for 2025 and beyond. This took me probably 20 minutes of like brainstorming to come. And basically I remembered my first one, and I don't think I ever sat down, and it's 27 years, to rethink it and how the business has changed. And I mean, I don't feel like I've changed that much, but the business changed, and my education has changed, and my experiences have changed, and the clients changed. So things changed along with it. So you definitely need to sit down. You need to write them down and see what overlaps, and then you can come up with your core value. And this will start to become your guiding compass. So the next phase of this is your BHAGs, the Big Hairy Audacious Goals. I personally love this. I just used to call them goals, and I would have big goals, medium goals, and large goals, and extra large goals. Kind of like I should have done them by like Starbucks, like a venti, grande, like. But now I have a different term for them. They're big, hairy, audacious goals. So now these are the massive long-term goals that stretch you and your business to think bigger. These are not the little goals. The little goals, you can have those, and that's great. But you need long-term goals. And, for me, that was my own space. And I had that goal for over 10 years. And that was something that is the least amount of goal I want you to have. 10, 20, maybe even 30 years. What do you want to accomplish in 10 years? What do you want to accomplish in 20 years? Like 30 years, I'm going to be retired and not doing this anymore. But at one point, I did have a 30-year goal. And I do have a 10 to 15-year goal. 20, I still think I'll be retired by 20, but it's good to have goals. And they're not about what you can accomplish next year or even this year. It's what about the next 5 years? Because it is January, actually, it is going to be February when this comes out, but it's currently January 2nd, and I am sitting here recording this. And it feels like, the Christmas of 2023 was just 2 months ago, and we just finished the holidays of 2024. The years are flying by. So 5 years might sound like a long time to write down your 5-year goal, your 10-year goal, your 20. You're going to blink, and that 5 years is going to be here and gone. So you need to have some goals that you can accomplish further out, that's going to make you dream bigger, that's going to make you want to do more in your business, not just this year. You have to think longer and you have to think legacy. So here's an example. Maybe a BHAG is to become the most respected design firm in your region. Or perhaps it's creating a legacy brand that outlasts you, that one of your children or your team members might buy or carry forward. These kinds of goals will give you and your team something to aspire to, a North Star, if you will, that keeps everybody motivated and aligned. So here's the trick with a BHAG. They can feel overwhelming, but that's why it's essential to break them down into incremental milestones. So let's say your goal is to double your revenue in the next 10 years. Let's start by setting smaller goals for each year, like improving your profit margins and increasing your database or launching a new service that makes it very manageable over 10 years. And these milestones will not only make the big goal feel achievable, but they will also give you opportunity to celebrate all the smaller progresses along the way. And trust me, those celebrations matter. They keep the momentum going and they fuel you. So you can see how these big, hairy, audacious goals all of a sudden don't seem so overwhelming, but also you'd be amazed when you hit them that now you want more and now you think bigger again. So don't be afraid of having some crazy, hairy, audacious goal. Go for it. Doesn't mean you can't change it, but it'll help you break down your goals into more manageable bite-sized items that over the next 10 years don't seem so overwhelming. But when you reach that big, hairy, audacious goal in 10 years from now, you're going to be very proud of yourself. And at that point, you know the goal will be even bigger for 20 years or even more for 30. So again, this is what you're going to want to write down your craziest, big, hairy, audacious goals. And I also want to make sure I clarify that it doesn't need to just be about business. Maybe it's what the business brings you. Maybe you want that second home. Maybe you want the lake house. Maybe you want the place down south. Maybe you want a Florida home. But the job that you're doing at building your business and the income that you're making from it is going to get you there. That's a big, hairy, audacious goal. So now that we have the core values and our big, hairy, audacious goals, we have to align the goals with the core values. So this is where the magic starts to happen. When your core values and your BHAGs align, and when you're very clear on your values and set goals that are a reflection of them, every decision you make feels far more intentional. You will be more confident in your decision making. So if your core values is about sustainability, maybe your BHAG has to become one of the leading eco-friendly design firms in your area. That alignment helps shape everything from the materials that you're choosing to the vendors that you're working with to the clients you attract. And this will make your brand stronger. Your decisions are clearer and your growth is exponential and more fulfilling. So alignment makes it easier for you to also say no. Let's be honest, saying no can be really hard, especially when you're growing a business. And when a project or a client or an opportunity doesn't align with your values or your big goals, saying no is the best thing you can do for your long-term success. Well, and your sanity, let's be clear. So building that practical side of achieving the BHAG system and the processes, without them, even the best intentions can start to fall apart. So now you're scaling your business to reach these big goals. You will need a solid foundation of workflow, process, operating procedures, and clear roles within your team if you have one. So by documenting everything from client onboarding to tracking performance indicators, your product profitability, basically allowing you to stay focused will also give you a bigger, clearer picture. And these systems will allow you to delegate confidently and will free up your time to focus on what truly matters in growing your business, building relationships, and staying aligned with your why, or otherwise your core value. So now let's not forget the importance of tracking progress. So reviewing regularly, not just revenue, not just your profit margins, but also lead conversions, your client satisfaction. This will help keep you grounded and informed because it takes all that guesswork out of any decision making and will give you the confidence to move forward while also having analytics to know what's working in your business. So we have to overcome these psychological barriers that we put up for ourselves, right? So we have these big goals, these big, hairy, audacious goals, and we're trying to stay true to our core values. And some days that isn't easy. There will be challenges. There will be setbacks. There will be moments of doubt. And that's why your mindset is such a big piece of this puzzle, because we've all had imposter syndrome. We all have moments where fear sets in. And these are those moments, those fearful moments that I think allow for the greatest growth in our businesses. That fear of letting go, fear of raising your prices, fear of making a wrong choice. And with any growth in any business, there is risk, which also brings fear. And shifting that mindset from scarcity to abundance, from fear to trust, is a real tough one. And I always like to think about it in terms, I know it's hard because it comes with time and with confidence and age, but as you build your business and as you stay really true to those core values and have the goals and you're working to, and you've hit a couple of them and you start realizing what's working, you will gain that confidence automatically, which will also really help break and overcome those psychological barriers of the fear of growth and the fear of, building the business. Because I know that sounds funny. People are like, what's there to be afraid of? But when you start making bigger decisions in your business, like my biggest one ever was deciding on getting my space. And I hemmed and I hawed and I hemmed and I actually am surprised now because I kept thinking about the money that I was going to be spending on it as money that was in my pocket, because it was in my pocket years before. And to come up with that money every month and to take that out of my profits meant that in my head, it was taking it out of basically my kids' mouths or their education funds or paying the mortgage, doing the things that all cost money. And it was a real mindset shift. And thankfully, I had a very fantastic partner. My husband is amazing and said, just do it. What's the worst that can happen? And, having that was super helpful. Don't get me wrong. But it also was the confidence in knowing that I had never had a year where I had lost money, and I had never had a year that I didn't make money, and I never had a year that made what I was going to lose. So I knew that I was covered. It just might mean that I might take a hit in my pay for that year. And so with that, I went and did it. And it was a big overcoming psychological barrier, but also, it was also a mind shift for me. And ever since that pivotal moment in my business, I saw myself as a leader rather than just a doer. And it changed everything for me. And that was a real pivotal moment for me. And it was overcoming all of these numerous things, mindset, psychological barriers, numerous things. But it was part of my big picture goals and building a business that aligned with my vision and with my core values and my big, hairy, audacious goals. So now, I know the word legacy is a funny one because I do think that you're building a legacy when you start to talk about having core values and big, hairy, audacious goals, and you're talking about 20, 30 years down the road. That is a legacy. That is a legacy business. That is not just a career. So I want you to have that mind shift on what you're creating and what you're building, because that's what it's really about. Your core values and your BHAGs aren't about growing a business. It's about creating something lasting, something meaningful. So when you think about your legacy, ask yourself, what do I want my business to stand for? What impact do I want to have on my clients, my team, and my industry? These answers will give purpose to everything you do moving forward. It is not just about hitting revenue milestones. It's not. I know it seems like that, but it's not. And it's about creating a business and a life that aligns with your purpose and your dreams. And I really think sometimes we're so busy doing life and business, and we forget to sit back and remember the why we did this, why we left paying jobs, why we took on all the extra work and stress and all this extra on our shoulders every single day of being entrepreneurs and business owners. And you have to sit down and remember your why. The why will bring you your core values, which will bring you to your goals. And you just have to make sure that everything aligns with those, and your decisions will become far easier. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you're as inspired as I was when I heard this recently, because I've heard all this before and I've read it all in books, but sometimes we just need a moment to hear it again and to put some thought to our jobs and to our work and to our vision and to our future. So I really hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you will share it with a friend. I hope you will leave me a review if you like this content, because if you don't, I'll go back to just talking about very specifically our businesses and the things that we need and work on within it, as opposed to the overall. And some people call this woo-woo. I don't. I think this really gives our businesses purpose. And I think it allows us to be very clear and focused. So if you have any questions or ideas for future episodes, please feel free to reach out. I love the ones that people have sent already. And anyone who has sent them in the last 3 months, don't worry, all those episodes are coming. But I hope in the meantime that you keep dreaming big. I hope you're staying aligned and building beautiful spaces. Till next time, bye for now.